Hey guys, Tealus here with another Warlords of Draenor beta video. In this video I'll be looking at the Mistweaver Monk. I'm looking into their major changes, their new changed and removed abilities, their new and changed glyphs, their new Draenor perks, and then finally their new and changed talents. The biggest change to mist-weaving monks in Warlords of Draenor is that mist-weaving has kind of been distanced from traditional mist-weaving. Blizzard did not like how in Mists of Pandaria, a fist-weaving monk was able to take, portions of the fist-weaving playstyle and portions of traditional mist-weaving and combine them into something very powerful, such as the jab-jab uplift combination. So Blizzard sought to kind of differentiate the two specs or playstyles and kind of separate them, and they did this by creating a new stance for Mistweaver monks. This new stance is Stance of the Spirited Crane. Stance of the Spirited Crane is what grants eminence now. So if you want to fist weave, you are going to have to be in Stance of the Spirited Crane. Stance of the Spirited Crane also grants you access to Jab, Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and even Rising Sun Kick now. However, you no longer have access to abilities like Renewing Mist or Soothing Mist. So you gain some offensive abilities to go along with the fist-weaving playstyle, but you lose some of the traditional healing abilities that stayed with the mist-weaving playstyle. Now, I can go into combat and, begin attacking like a normal fist-weaver, and then I can switch into Stance of the White Serpent and use Renewing Mist or Soothing Mist, and then switch back. But the two are separate, and if you want to have, the best of both worlds, you're going to have to do a decent amount of stance dancing between the two. This should effectively kind of just distance the two playstyles enough to make sure that they don't cross over too much and create something really powerful. The next major change to Mistweavers in Warlords of Draenor is that they now have a 1.5 second global cooldown instead of 1 second. Blizzard did this to increase the value of haste for mist-weaving monks. They introduced a new passive known as Focus and Harmony that causes haste or haste effects to lower the global cooldown of your spells and abilities. So now that the global cooldown is at 1.5 seconds, haste lowers this, and then, haste actually has value to a Mistweaver monk now. The last major change to Mistweaving monks in Warlords of Draenor is that Mistweaving monks really didn't care about mana in Mists of Pandaria by at least 5.1, maybe even earlier. Mistweaving monks were ignoring their mana. They didn't have to worry about that. So Blizzard made some changes. As I go throughout the abilities, you'll notice them. They made some changes to make mana actually impactful, like make you pay attention to your mana now. Soothing Mist, for example, will no longer generate chi, and chi is kind of like your escape from having to use mana. So that change was brought in to kind of make mana more noticeable to a Mistweaver. They're going to have to pay more attention to their mana bar, because that is the entire main resource of a healer, is to pay attention to their mana. And considering the changes made in Warlords of Draenor to make mana really important and take out all mana regenerating abilities, it wouldn't be right for one spec to really not have to worry about mana. So that is why these changes were made. There are 3 new abilities for a Mistweaver monk in Warlords of Draenor. The first is Jade Mist. Jade Mist, you gain 5% more of the multi-strike stat from all sources, and your Renewing Mist and Rising Sun Kick have a chance equal to your multi-strike chance to not go on cooldown when used. The next Renewing Mist or Rising Sun Kick cannot trigger this effect. So breaking this ability down, the first part basically establishes multi-strike as the main stat of choice for a Mistweaver in Warlords of Draenor. The second portion is just kind of a way to trigger an extra Renewing Mist or Rising Sun Kick without having the cooldown. And then the third part is basically to make sure that you do not chain these back to back. The second new ability for a Mistweaver in Warlords of Draenor is Detonate Chi. Basically, detonate all of your healing spheres, causing them to heal targets within 12 yards. Now, this does share an icon with the old Healing Sphere ability. Healing Sphere has been removed from the game, so just don't get confused. Detonate Chi is a new ability. Healing Sphere has been removed. The only way you're going to get Healing Spheres in Warlords of Draenor is going to be through a level 100 talent, or it will be through your mastery. The last new ability for a Mistweaver in Warlords of Draenor is Focused in Harmony. I already discussed this. Haste effects lower the global cooldown of your spells and abilities. And also your attack power equals exactly 100% of your spell power. That's basically just to clear up any confusion, regarding stats and damage. It's all the same now, it just simplifies things. There are several changed abilities for a Mistweaver in Warlords of Draenor. The first is that Brew Manatee, I should say, has been removed from the game, and all of its effects have just been merged directly into Manatee. So basically, Manatee has a larger tooltip now. The range of Healing Spheres has been increased. That is the activation, so you do not have to be as close anymore to gain the Healing Sphere, like for the Healing Sphere to activate and heal you. I cannot demonstrate this until we get to the end of the video and I can demonstrate with some Healing Spheres around, but just know that that change has been made. Summon Jade Serpent Statue. Eminence now causes the statue to heal 50% up from 25%, and it also has a 10-second cooldown as opposed to a 30-second cooldown. So basically just an all-around buff there for your Jade Serpent Statue. Soothing Mist, I already discussed, no longer generates any chi. It's just going to be your heal. Thunder Focus Thunder Focus Tea will no longer cost 1 chi, and it now causes your Renewing Mist to jump to 2 additional times instead of renewing the mist on all of your targets. I honestly do not know if this will end up being a net gain or net loss for your mana, but that is the change that has been made. It sounds to me like it kind of reduces the efficiency a little bit. Uplift now has a 1.5 second cast time up from instant. Blizzard really cut down on healer mobility in Warlords of Draenor. Restoration Druids and Mistweaving Monks were kind of the mobile healers originally, so they only received 1 cast time from their instance. Several of the other healing specs had multiple abilities, turned from a instant cast ability to a casted ability. So Uplift is the casualty here. It is the chosen one. Uplift will now have a 1.5 second cast time. Crackling Jade Lightning, it still pretty much stays the same for Stance of the Spirited Crane. Well, it's kind of changed a little bit. In Stance of the Spirited Crane, it will deal damage and it will generate chi. So it's really very powerful. You can see how quickly it channels, and it generates chi really quickly. And then it is different in Stance of the Wise Serpent. In Stance of the Wise Serpent, it's slower. It no longer costs any mana, but it has that knockback available to kind of, get enemy players away from you. In Stance of the Spirited Crane, it does cost a lot of mana. If you look in the top left-hand corner, yeah, I'm generating chi, but I'm just trucking through my mana bar, so you have to be careful with it when using it in Stance of the Spirited Crane. Spear Hand Strike lost its ability to cause a silence. All silence and disarms have been removed from the game, so really this is just kind of a blanket overall change that has happened to everyone. Tiger Strikes has changed in that it now increases your multi-strike chance by 25% instead of increasing your attack speed. This is kind of good because it kind of meshes well with the fact that multi-strike is now your main stat as a Mistweaver. That's it for all of the changed abilities for a Mistweaving Monk in Warlords of Draenor. There are several removed abilities for Mistweaving. The first is Grapple Weapon. Basically, exactly the same thing I was talking about with Spear Hand Strike. All disarms and silences have been removed from the game, so this was obvious one to go. It's happened to all specs in the game. Healing Sphere, as I mentioned earlier, has been removed from the game. Blizzard just really didn't like it. Once again, remember that Detonate Chi now has the same spell icon as Healing Sphere. Swift Reflexes has been removed. No reason for it. It's just been removed from the game. Disable is now Windwalker only. Zen Meditation, which was a damage reduction, is now only available to Brewmasters and Windwalkers. Dematerialize and Muscle Memory, they are two passives that have been removed from the game. You will no longer have access to those as a Mistweaver. And then lastly, Teachings of the Monastery has been removed as well, but all of its effects have been baked directly into Stance of the Wise Serpent. The two abilities have merged, just kind of a spellbook bloat reduction there. The Mistweaving Monk has several new glyphs and a couple of new changed glyphs in Warlords of Draenor. The first new glyph is going to be Glyph of Detoxing. Detox now has a maximum of 2 charges, but its cooldown is increased by 4 seconds. This is exclusive with Glyph of Detox, so you can only have one or the other. I really like this change. It kind of gives that flexibility so that if you need to use Detox twice, you can, but the cooldown is increased, so it's kind of a playstyle choice. There is Glyph of Renewed Tea. When Renewing Mist is dispelled, you gain 1 charge of Mana Tea. Somewhat of a dispel protection there. I honestly don't know of people who will be out there hunting for, hunting to dispel Renewing Mist. It's not as important than something like a main DPS ability, like let's say Black Arrow is to a survival hunter. So, I mean, it's there. It's an option. It's exclusive with Glyph of Renewing Mist, so you're going to have to choose one or the other, but it's an option. There is Glyph of Freedom Roll. Your Rolled Chi Torpedo and Flying Serpent Kicks all dispel snares affecting you when used. Snares are very powerful in Warlords of Draenor, so this is a glyph I would definitely consider taking if you are a PvP Mistweaving Monk. Because, as I just mentioned, snares are all over the place. It's what keeps the melee in line, and so having this will really be beneficial, and I can really see a lot of Mistweavers taking this glyph. There is Glyph of Victory Roll. This glyph, in my opinion, is worthless. You gain 1 charge of Roll or Chi Torpedo whenever you kill a target that grants experience or honor. It's basically like the, other abilities, like I think a Death Knight, if they still have it. Death Knight got a free Death Grip if they killed an opponent that granted experience or honor. Honestly, Roll is not the same as Death Grip, so I don't see the benefit in this. Also know that it's exclusive with Glyph of Rapid Rolling and Glyph of Freedom Roll, and Glyph of Freedom Roll is definitely more beneficial to you than Glyph of Victory Roll. There is Glyph of Zen Focus. This is the last new glyph for a Mistweaver. When you use Thunder Focus Tea, you gain Zen Focus, causing you to be immune to all silence and interrupt effects for 5 seconds. This is a great glyph for PvP Mistweavers. It's something you should really look into taking, because even though silences have been removed from the game, you do get that immunity from interrupt effects. Now, I did miss one glyph. That is Glyph of Soothing Mist. This is amazing. It's the best glyph, and I can see every single Mistweaver taking it. When you stop channeling Soothing Mist, you gain 60% movement speed for 1 second every second you spent channeling Soothing Mist. So I'm going to show this to you. This is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and channel Soothing Mist for the entire duration here. And then I have 7 seconds of quick mobility. This is going to be used in PvP without a doubt, and then I honestly can see many PvEers taking this as well. Like, it's a great glyph all around for all specs, all playstyles, etc. So I definitely see people possibly taking this. There are 2 changed glyphs for a Mistweaver. The first is going to be Glyph of Renewing Mist. It increases the range that Renewing Mist may travel by 20 yards. Instead of, I believe it used to be, it would choose a target that was furthest as opposed to closest. So a little bit of a change there for Renewing Mist. Just kind of opens the area of effect to which Renewing Mist can jump. And then there's Glyph of Surging Mist. It's now specific to Stance of the Spirited Crane, so while in Stance of the Spirited Crane, your Surging Mist no longer requires a target and instead heals a random injured target within 40 yards. So that's really to benefit Mistweaving. The Draenor perks for Mistweaver are kind of in the middle. They're good, but not the best in the game. The first is going to be enhanced roll. Your chi torpedo now travels the same distance in 25% less time. Um, so I'm gonna have a hard time kind of showing this to you without a live version to kind of compare it against, but you do move quite a bit faster using chi torpedo and roll. There is enhanced transcendence. This is awesome. The cooldown of transcendence is reduced by 35 seconds, and transcendence transfer is now instant cast. Having instant cast on transcendence transfer is awesome, and it's going to make Mistweavers that much more difficult to kind of attack. You know, it's going to make them more elusive. Definitely something that's going to be very beneficial in PvP. Even PvEers, excuse me, will take advantage of this in a boss fight where you need to move very quickly and then get back to healing. So great change there. There is improved life cocoon, reduces the cooldown of life cocoon by 20 seconds. That brings my life cocoon down to a 55-second cooldown, so you have access to that kind of emergency button a little bit quicker. And then there is improved renewing mist. It increases the duration of renewing mist by 2 seconds. So that allows you to dish some more renewing mists out before you have to worry about it falling off of the target. Excuse me. So that's everything with the Draenor perks. That leaves us with the talents for a Mistweaver in Warlords of Draenor. First, you should know that Ascension now increases your maximum mana by 20% instead of 50%. And then Chi Brew will only generate 1 stack of Mana Tea instead of 2. So kind of just some evening of that 45 tier, making it a little bit more, Ascension a little bit more viable, and then making Chi Brew not as viable. Ring of Peace has changed because the silence and disarms have all been removed from the game, so Ring of Peace had to be changed a little bit. Form a Ring of Peace around the friendly target for 8 seconds, incapacitating all enemies. For the first time they enter the Ring of Peace, and then for the first time that they use a harmful spell or ability. So it's just a little bit of a change there. Know that Ring of Peace, the incapacitating effect, shares a diminishing return with all other mesmerize effects. So for example, a priest's dominate mind, that's a mesmerize effect. So just know that those share diminishing returns. That leaves us with the level 100 talents for a Mistweaver. They honestly have awesome level 100 talents, especially compared to some specs in the game. First is Pool of Mist. Your Renewing Mist spell now has 3 charges, and its healing is increased by 15%. And then your Rising Sun Kick spell now has 3 charges, and its damage is increased by 50%. So this is great. I can go ahead and toss out 3 Renewing Mist immediately. Now, the cooldown will still be the same, you know, for each Renewing Mist, but you have 3 charges now, so that's definitely a great change in Warlords of Draenor. I do like that. The next ability here is going to be Chi Explosion. This one is very complex, but a lot of fun. So Chi Explosion replaces your Blackout Kick. This can be used from range, 40-yard range, for a healer in Stance of the Wise Serpent. I'm not quite sure if it's the same for... It's a 30-yard range while in Fist Weaving, so it's a 40-yard range in Stance of the Wise Serpent. Basically, Chi Explosion replaces Blackout Kick, and it will do different effects based on how many Chi you use. So, for example, if I use 1 Chi, so I'll build 1 Chi as an example, all it does is heal the ally for 8200 plus 8200 per Chi consumed. For 2 Chi, it causes an additional 50% healing over 6 seconds. So I can build up 2 Chi and then use it. And it will retain all the effects of the previous Chi modifier. So both the heals an ally for a certain amount, it's 9500 now, and 95 per Chi consumed, and the additional healing 50% over 6 seconds, those are both used. When I use 3, the effects for 2 and 1 will also be used. For 3 Chi, the healing is evenly divided among all allies within 8 yards of the target, so it is an AoE ability. So I'll go ahead and get 3 here, and then I'll use Chi Explosion. You see the AoE there, and then with the other effects, I put the the hot on them. It's pretty powerful. So the last is going to be 4 Chi, and it also summons 8 healing spheres in an 8-yard radius ring around the target that lasts 15 seconds. So let me go ahead and build it up here. Get my 4 chi, and then I'll use Chi Explosion, and you'll see all the healing spheres pop up all around the target. Now, since I'm at full health, I cannot demonstrate how easy it is to, I can drop from the sky. And so you can see the range on Chi Sphere has been increased a little bit to compensate for the fact of the problems that were before that came out of, you know, they were kind of, the range was kind of small, and that will no longer be the case anymore. So let me build up my Chi here again so I can do another Chi explosion and then show you detonate Chi real quick. Just, it's an immediate explosion of all the Chi, or all the healing spheres, excuse me, and it heals the targets in the radius. That leaves us with the last talent for a Mistweaver, and that is Breath of the Serpent. Breath of the Serpent, your Jade Serpent statue breathes healing mist towards you, healing allies in a cone within 20 yards for 1700 every 1 second for 10 seconds. So I'm going to get my Jade Serpent statue up here, put it on the other side of these healing dummies, and I'll go ahead and use it. It's powerful, it follows me wherever I go. Honestly, I don't see this being taken in PvP because your statue is a static location, and in PvE will have limited uses, really only if the targets are all, you know, grouped up in one area. So it has a cooldown. I just don't see it being as popular as Chi Explosion and Pool of Mist. I think those are much more viable talents, but it is something there. It's like a burst heal. It's fun, you know. You can have the Breath of the Serpent follow you wherever you go, but I just don't find it to be as popular as Chi Explosion or Pool of the Mist. So that's everything dealing with Mistweaving monks in Warlords of Draenor. I hope I went through everything that you needed to know. The biggest change is that Fistweaving and Mistweaving are now really two separate play styles, and you will be playing differently. And if you want to have benefits from both, you're going to have to do a lot of stance dancing. So that's everything for Mistweavers. I will see you guys in the next video. Tearless out.